For one season, the most unstoppable closer in basketball was the shortest guy in the league, standing at 5'9". And he wasn't just a late pick, he was the last pick, number 60, Mr. Relevant. And in the fourth quarter, he was outscoring LeBron and KD, not in the game, for the entire year. So, let's go and see how the smallest man on the basketball court became a king.
About a 2-second difference between the shot clock and game clock. Thomas on the drive, pull-up jumper, it's good! Isaiah Thomas gives the Celtics the lead with 2.4 remaining.
Let's rewind for a minute. The 2011 draft, 60 picks, and Isaiah Thomas hears his name dead last. The reason was never his game. It was a tape measure. 5'9" in a league of giants. Scouts saw a guy who would just get swallowed on the court. Here's the thing he kept saying though, all I want is a chance. So he would spend 3 years in Sacramento, half a year in Phoenix. The league labeled him as a fun scorer, but not as a contributor to winning basketball. Then, a trade nobody noticed sent him to Boston in 2015. This was his opportunity to show the league that he got that dog in him. And by 2016, Boston hands him the offense. And the little guy turns into a problem the whole league couldn't solve. No player picked that low had ever made an all-star team, not since the draft became 2 rounds in 1989. But that would change quickly. The dominance didn't show up all at once though. It showed up as a streak. Starting in mid-November, Isaiah scored 20 plus points in game after game and after game. And it didn't stop until late February, 43 straight. That broke a franchise record that stood since John Havlicek, a Celtics legend and a Hall of Famer. And here's the wild one. He led his own team in scoring in dozens of straight games, a streak so long for ESPN stats and info, only 2 players had a longer one in the previous 40 years. And those players are Michael Jordan and Kobe Bean Bryant. Now, the streak's real eruption, we gotta go back to December 20th against Memphis. Boston's down 17 in the second half to one of the nastiest defenses in the league, and Isaiah just refuses. He drops a then career high of 44, 36 of them after halftime, and drags Boston to an overtime win, 112 to 109. Now, look at how he did it. 10 of 16 from the field, 7 threes, and 17 free throws without missing one. And no, he wasn't just flopping, it was ethical hoops. 44 points on 16 shots, that's what you call great hoops. Now, 10 days later, December 30th, comes the night that turned a nickname into a legend, and Isaiah Thomas goes for 54 points. But the number isn't the story, it's the timing. 29 of those 52 came in the fourth quarter alone, and that's the actual fourth quarter, not overtime. A Celtics franchise record for points in a single quarter, breaking Larry Bird's old mark of 24. Boston would then win it in regulation 117 to 114. And after that game, a Celtics legend, Kevin Garnett, went on TV and basically said, if Westbrook and Harden weren't having historic years, this guy is an MVP conversation. And right around here, the cities gave him the name that sticks, King in the Fourth. A headband for a crown, a garden for a throne. So, let's actually answer the question, was King in the Fourth a cool nickname or was it real? In the fourth quarter of that season, Isaiah Thomas averaged 9.8 points just in the fourth alone. That led the league for most of the year before an MVP Westbrook took it last second. And since the NBA started tracking quarter by quarter scoring in 96, that 9.8 is the second highest fourth quarter scoring average anyone has ever posted behind only Westbrook that we just mentioned. Now, Isaiah Thomas was scoring more than LeBron, Kobe, and Durant ever averaged in their fourth quarters, going back through the entire quarter tracking era. Kobe's best was 9.5, LeBron's best was 9.1, and Durant never even cracked 8.5. So let's get into it. Number 1, usage rate, 34%. And here's what that actually means. Of every 100 trips Boston took down the floor, Isaiah personally finished about 34 of them. A shot, a trip to the free throw line, or just a turnover. That's not a go-to scorer workload. That's the whole offense is around you workload. Defenses knew it. They game played to stop one guy that's only 5'9", but none of that ever mattered. Number 2, true shooting percentage. And at 62.5%, once again, at 5'9", true shooting isn't just how efficient a scorer is once you account for threes and free throws being worth more. League average that year was around the low 50s. Role players who can only shoot wide open layups and corner threes live around there. Isaiah Thomas carried the heaviest scoring load on his team, and he finished as one of the most efficient scorers in the league. You're supposed to pick one, volume or efficiency, but one of the smallest players in the league chose both. And let's add the cherry on top. He also posted the lowest turnover rate of his career. The more they leaned on him, the more careful he got. And in the fourth quarter specifically, he got more efficient, not less, with the defense selling out to stop him every single possession. So yeah, that crown of the king, it was earned, and he kept proving it. January 13th, game tied, the clock dying. The ball goes where it always goes. We already know what happens. Game winner over Atlanta with 2.4 seconds left. By late January, he's not just hot. He's having a historic month. In January alone, Isaiah averaged 32.9 points a game. That's the 4th best scoring month by any Celtic ever in franchise history. So naturally, the league makes him a second-time All-Star, but there's a snag. He just misses being a starter, edged out in the fan vote by DeRozan on a tiebreaker. Now, you do not want to give this man a reason. Days later, February 1st, Boston plays Toronto, DeRozan's team. And what does Isaiah do? He drops another 44 points, 16 of 17 from the line, scoring Toronto's whole fourth quarter behind a 32-19 Celtics run. Everything is going right. The Celtics are climbing toward the 1 seed, and then, March 15th, comes a moment nobody clocked at the time. A hip injury. Against Minnesota, he misses 2 games and comes back. No big deal, everyone thinks. But it comes back to end everything. He finishes the regular season at 28.9 points a game, 3rd in the entire NBA behind only Westbrook and Harden. The highest scoring season by a Celtic since Larry Bird. Mr. Irrelevant carried Boston to 53 wins and the number 1 seed in the East. He made All-NBA second team, the first Celtics to make any All-NBA team since Paul Pierce in 2009, and he finished 5th in MVP voting. That's the dominance, that's the regular season, and honestly, if the story ended there, it'd already be one of the great underdog years in modern NBA history. But it doesn't just end there, because the playoffs turned into something basketball really couldn't hold. The day before the playoffs began, Isaiah's younger sister, China, was killed in a single car accident back home in Washington. She was only 22. It was Easter Sunday, Game 1 against the Chicago Bulls, and before tip-off, the garden went dark. For a moment of silence, and Isaiah sat on the bench. On his shoes, he'd written 4 things: China, I love you, 4/15/17, and rest in peace, little sis. And then he played. The day after his sister died, he scored 33. Boston lost that game because Jimmy Butler went off, but that was never the point. Now, here's what makes it heavier. Boston didn't just lose game 1, they also lost game 2. The number 1 seed went down 0-2 to the 8th seed. A grieving Isaiah Thomas then dragged that team back from the dead, 4 straight wins, and the series is over. The top seed survived. On to round 2, the Washington Wizards. But first, in between rounds, the funeral. Saturday in Tacoma. He flew across the country to bury his sister, then took a red-eye back to Boston. And the next day, hours after the flight, he played game 1. Early on, defending Otto Porter, he takes a hit and his tooth gets knocked clean out of his mouth. But he keeps playing, scores 33 and dishes 9 out. Boston wins 123-111. Then, he spends his off day getting 6 hours of oral surgery. So, let's add it up. In the span of 2 weeks, his sister dies, a cross-country funeral, a teeth ripped out, 6 hours, and a dentist chair. Then, game 2 came. May 2nd, it would have been China's 23rd birthday. Boston falls behind 14, and Isaiah Thomas decides to turn it up. He scores 53, a career high, 29 of them coming in the 4th and overtime. In the overtime alone, he pours in 9 more to bury Washington. On the other side, John Wall just went for 40 and 13, and he lost because in that 4th quarter and overtime, a 5'9" guard nearly outscored the entire Wizards team by himself. Boston will then win 129-119. Now, 53 points. He was only 1 single point short of the Celtics' all-time playoff record set by Havlicek back in 1973. And then at the podium, the whole thing finally catches up to him. He says, "Today's my sister's birthday. She would have been 23. The least I can do is go out there and play for her." The Wizards series went the full 7 games, both teams trading haymakers and blowouts. And somewhere in Game 6, that one hip injury from March flares back up. He gutted out Game 7 anyways. Boston won 115-105, and the last pick in the 2011 draft was now 4 games away to the NBA Finals, having to go against LeBron James and defending champions Cleveland. But the body was done. In Game 2, the hip gave out for real. Isaiah played the first half, limping, and sat the entire second half. Cleveland would then win 130-86, the worst home playoff loss in Celtics franchise history. Then, the next day, the Celtics ruled him out for the rest of the postseason, a torn labrum and an impingement in the hip. Just like that, the season was over for him. For the playoff run, before the hip finally stopped him, he'd averaged 23.3 points a game, grieving, injured, missing a tooth, and he was still one of the hardest players to guard in the NBA. Now, I wish I could say Isaiah could come back and be better than ever, but that hip needed surgery, and that same summer, also would trade him to Cleveland in the deal for Kyrie Irving. And the player you just watched, 3rd in the league in scoring, king of the 4th, basically will never come back. The hip took the burst, the rim finishing, the peak. After that, he would only ever sign minimum contracts. So, with what that one season actually was, a 5'9" guy picked last in the NBA draft, 34% usage at 62.5% true shooting, carrying the most and scoring the most efficiently. The best 4th quarter scoring season in 2 decades, 3rd in the NBA in points, 5th in MVP voting, and a 1 seed. In a 53-point game played on his late sister's birthday with a tooth missing and a hip folding apart. People remember the hype because it's the easy hook, but that was never the story. The story is that for one impossible season, the 5'9" guy that everybody passed up on was the last person on earth anyone wanted to see with the ball and the shot clock running down. Remember, he was simply the king of the 4th.